So the secret struggle we're going to discuss in this video is about when you first find out that marriage seems or can seem like all of a sudden you have a lack of freedom that you had when you're single.
Or even if you're not single, if you're remarried, there are certain things that may have not been an issue in your prior marriage, and now it's an issue in this marriage.
You had other issues, or you wouldn't have
other
been
issues.
in a prior marriage.
Yeah, other issues, or it wouldn't be a prior marriage. It'd still be the same one.
Right.
So you want to start first with lack of freedom, maybe some of the things that you experience as a lack of freedom in our beautiful, beautiful relationship to a very handsome man.
Are you making me say that?
I don't make
I
you
have
say
a
anything.
lack of freedom.
I don't make you say anything, but I will pinch you if you say the wrong thing.
Well, when you're single or you have no one to answer to, you do have more freedom. The Bible even talks about that. You will have more freedom if you don't get married. But the thing is, when you enter into marriage, it's not about you any longer. It's the pursuit of becoming one. And becoming one means unity. Love demands a sacrifice. So we have to sacrifice things, and we're not just thinking about what we want to eat, what we want to wear, what we want to do that day, what we want to spend our money on, where we want to live. It's not just about us. Now we have to consider there's another person who we're trying to become one with, and we have to consult them on most things we do. So now we have to plan a life together. It's not just me planning by myself. I'm giving up that freedom, and I'm going to consult you to see what's going to work best for our marriage and to help us be in unity and become one.
So what did you have to give up for me?
A lot. We don't have time.
Well, you were pretty much out there. I had to reel you in, my friend.
We don't even have time. Go ahead.
You don't want to say?
Oh.
What you gave up?
Oh.
What did you give up? Probably nothing, because being married to me is pretty perfect. Wouldn't you say?
Well, just a lot of the things I said, like how I would spend my money, how I wanted to eat, because I cook for you. I don't eat the way I used to eat. I eat more things that you like now,
Carrots,
which is why
lettuce.
No, I eat more things because I am kind of the type of personality that serves other people. I have a natural kind of servant's heart to some degree. So I did give up a lot of the things I used to eat and the ways I used to eat to accommodate the way you eat. So rather than cooking 2 meals all the time, I cooked more towards what you liked. So that changed. Even around sleeping, what time I wanted to go to bed and what time I wanted to wake up in the morning. It's a lot of little things you don't even realize. And I think that's why some people, especially young people, when they get married, they're it's really fun in the beginning, but then they realize, hey, they always say you don't know someone till you live with them. That's true. Because all of a sudden, I know recently one couple that got married and they could not believe how much their sleeping patterns were different. And that was driving them crazy because one slept with the TV on, one was used to sleeping with the TV off, and now they got to figure out, which one's going to make the sacrifice to sleep with the TV on or off. There's so many little things that you have to give up, and marriage requires that because, either or.
Is that a good thing?
Love demands a sacrifice. I think when we can learn to sacrifice, we become better people. We become less selfish people. A lot of us can be very selfish, but when you have to give your life to someone else, it teaches you to become more giving and unselfish. I don't know if this is true, but I heard that a cat will be a much better cat if she has a litter of kittens.
I'll never know because I'm
allergic
to cats, and
I've heard that.
Yeah.
And I do know that even as women, we have to give up so much when we have a baby. That's not wrong. We're created to have children, but when we have children, it takes away a whole pile of freedom. But look at the joy you get from children. So you're giving a lot up, but you're gaining so much. And it's the same in marriage. When you have to make those sacrifices and you give up some freedoms that you once had, marriage is a very rich thing.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking the same thing. It gives you a richer relationship. It's kind of like, when you drive a car, you give up certain freedoms. I can't just run the red light. I just can't drive 90 miles an hour down the street. I can't just, make a left turn at a red light. All these things I can't do, But the good thing about it, it makes the road safer for the people that are on the road.
And you have the freedom, it gives you a new freedom of driving the car.
I can still get to destinations that I want to get to, but I can get there safely now. And I think by some of the freedoms that we give up in our relationship, it gives us more safety in our relationships. One of the things is, one of the things that was a struggle for me when we first got married was I was used to, I sang professionally for 30 years. And I pretty much, whenever I got an engagement that I wanted to go on, I went. I didn't ask anybody's permission. I did it. I mean, I would say, hey, I'm going to Dallas, or I'm going to go to wherever I'm going to go. So I didn't ask anybody's permission. And I did miss birthdays of my kids. I miss my son's basketball games. I miss Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, because I was out singing on those things. New Year's, I was singing at some church, bringing in the New Year's Eve celebration. Am I saying those things are bad? They're not bad or good. They just are what they are. But when we came into our relationship, for some reason, you wanted me to discuss those things with you.
I'd kind of like to know if you're going to be gone for Christmas or if I'm going to be with you. It's probably a little bit important.
And I found that a little bit of a struggle because, again, the enemy speaks to you and says, what, she doesn't trust you? Or what, she trying to be your mother? Those kind of things. So sometimes the freedoms that you give up, it gives you greater intimacy in your relationship. The freedoms that you give up give you more connectivity in a relationship. I think that if I just did what I wanted to do without ever talking to you about it, you're not a demanding woman. So without talking to you about it, it may give me more road time or more this, but I won't have a good relationship at home because,
I think some of it too, it's not so much that you were upset. It wasn't
I wasn't upset.
It wasn't your normal.
Yeah, I wasn't upset about it.
So it was
normal.
like, if you didn't tell me and I wanted to know, it was like, it seemed abnormal to you.
Yeah, and it's not so much I didn't tell you. It had to become your normal. It's just that I discussed it with you. I wasn't used to discussing
because it seemed,
my dates.
It might have seemed in your mind almost that you had asked permission for something. It wasn't permission. It's more like, is this going to work for our marriage? Is this going to work for this time frame? Or what are your plans for Christmas? Do you have plans for Christmas, or will this work? So you're really considering the other person and considering what they might want to do. And
they may have a better idea. I mean, when I look back in retrospect, some people say you shouldn't live with regrets. Well, you should live with regrets. That doesn't mean you have to wallow in them, in the regrets. There are lessons to be learned. When you know better, you do better. But when I look back, I do regret that I missed some very important times in my kids' lives. I know that I didn't do it because I thought I was all that. A lot of it was done out of fear because I felt like if I better go on sing to make this money, because I went bankrupt in 1989. And I figured, man, if people are going to pay me to come sing, I better keep doing it because it's not going to last. I didn't know it was going to last as long as it did. And then even after it started lasting, my lifestyle in terms of materially got more expensive. So now I had to support a healthier lifestyle. That's a whole other story.
Or an unhealthier lifestyle.
Yeah, unhealthy lifestyle, because that's too much spending too much on material stuff. But I think it's healthy now to have checks and balances. Even a government has checks. Think about a person who runs a government that has no checks and balances is a dictator. And I don't know if I've seen too many dictatorships in governments that were healthy. A lot of times it was a lot of rich at the top and a lot of poverty at the bottom. So yes, some things may feel like a lack of freedom because you're not used to it. but you're developing a life together.
Right.
And you're developing a life that has new paradigms, new enjoyments, new intimacy, new vision. But in order to do that, you have to be able to make some changes in the structure. So if initially it feels like a lack of freedom, it's like it's like the person who's driving, 90 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone, and they get mad at the cop because the cop pulls them over.
Right.
You see those videos. Sometimes I see a video on YouTube or Facebook, and the guy's mad at the cop because he pulled him over because he was going 40 miles over the speed limit. Well, you know what? You can potentially hurt other people and hurt yourself. So yes, you need a nice ticket to remind you of that. But the point I'm making again is that the negative side, or the negative phrase, would be a lack of freedom. The positive side is a richer life and a richer relationship. And that's what we're going after. We're going after a richer relationship, because at the end of the day, it's very positive to say, hey, I think I'm going to take this date and do this thing on Christmas Day. And you say, but you know what? I think it's time that we spend time with family or whatever, And you know what? At the end of the day, that probably is a better investment.
So work through that phase of your relationship, because every relationship, or most relationships, are going to go through a little bit of feeling like that. We talked to one guy, I don't know if, well, you do remember, it was at a coffee shop. He was just newly married. He felt like he's in a prison, but he really wasn't. It's just that he couldn't do whatever he wanted to do. And we could see that, but he couldn't. So we had a discussion with him. And, fast forward a few years later, he's doing well. He finally just grasped that there are sacrifices to make in marriage. They have 3 kids. It seems like they're doing very well and very happy. But that was a really tough spot for him in that early stage of their relationship.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of learning and relearning, because lack of freedom simply is just changes in lifestyle that will benefit the relationship.
Right.
And that makes it better.
Perfect.
Perfect.